SPYR.
Welcome back to Starting Now. I'm your host, Jeff Sarris. This is the show where I talk to entrepreneurs to reveal the unexpected paths to where they are today. Today, my guests are Lucy and Cameron of Elastic Pi. They are filmmakers, and they are working on a documentary called Wild Web3. So we dive into filmmaking. This is a lot of fun. I'm really passionate about filmmaking. We have a documentary as well, so we dive into that, dive into what they're working on, and we talk about taking the leap from working in film, working as an educator, which was what Cameron was doing sort of early on and after school, leading on to filmmaking, but doing filmmaking on the side, and taking the opportunity that 2020 provided to then take the leap, start doing all this on their own, and it's led them to where they are today. So without further ado, my conversation with Lucy and Cameron. That initial spark, was that when you were talking to Fat Baby for the first time? Or was Fat Baby one of the ones you reached out to maybe early along? Because I'm trying to remember timeline, and I don't remember when that was happening.
So it was like the very first meeting that we were at was, we didn't record that. That was just kind of, we came away and we were like, okay, this is really interesting. And then I went to another event where Fat Baby was speaking on a panel with Gimme Gargoyles and Wax Bones as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's when I kind of went up to them. I was like, hey guys, how do you feel about being in a film? And luckily they were like, yeah, let's do it. So then it went from there really. And then we've been filming with those guys quite a lot, and it's been a really nice group of people to kind of follow the whole process through and kind of I don't know, I guess like be the kind of root and beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then are you using their stories like of the past year, 2 years, like however long the production process goes on, are you using their stories sort of as like the glue to tell the broader story, or are their stories the main focus? Sort of, how are you looking at it just from a filmmaker's perspective? I'm always just curious.
Yeah. So I think like it's one of the things that we've been thinking about through this process is it's to the regular person who doesn't know anything about NFTs or crypto, Web3, it's confusing. And so I think we found it important to film with people who, audiences can relate to, I guess. So yeah, that's been a big focus.
Yeah, I think we were very lucky from the beginning to find people who kind of could tell a story with heart. And we've spoken to loads of different people, and we go and speak to different people at different events, or we go to people's studios and speak to them. So there are other artists and other developers and other companies involved in the overall story. But I think, for people that we met quite early on, we've lucked out with people who have been fantastic and really have quite a heart, their heart in it, and show that throughout the process, which has been lovely.
Yeah, to be able to check back in with them too is so valuable, because it's like a lot of times it's just like sort of one sit down interview, and then it's like, okay, we'll piece this together to tell a story. But you are going back and sort of following along as the journey continues, it seems like.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think they're the kind of films like in terms of like documentaries that we sort of particularly enjoy, when you feel like you're living a journey with someone. So that's been kind of our aim for the past year. So
yeah. So there is the one thing, the big question, because like art is never done. Do you have sort of a timeline on this when you're like, okay, we want this story arc, we want this journey encapsulated between this window, or is it still sort of up in the air because it's so difficult,
I think it's we definitely, I think we do have one, and it was, but it's the things happen in the space. Like we came back from NFT London, we were like, right, we talked together, we've got kind of an idea of where this is going, and then the FTX thing happens. You're like, well, that's something you're not expecting. Is that going to, and it's these kind of things that are in the space constantly that, we've got an idea where it's ending. are things going to change that, or is it going to be, a month or 2 months longer, or whatever it is? Difficult to say, because that's kind of the thing. You're following people's lives. You're following a space which is moving so rapidly. It is, it's interesting to know when to stop it. But I think there is a definite end to the particular story we're telling, which I think is presenting itself more and more at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do you feel any time crunch just with how fast the space moves? Because that's always the thing. People, like, things are happening so quickly that, I don't know, I could imagine you invest all the time, that there's just that little like nagging, like, I wish we were able to put it out. I wish the timeline for a film wasn't this long. Like, are you feeling any of that at all? Just by the nature of the space?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been, it's even just like capturing it, right? Because if you're making something, I don't know, about something much more relaxed and like less intense and chaotic and online and ever changing, then you can just sort of book in a shoot and go and film with them, and then it's fine. But with this, things keep just like dropping and happening. And it does mean that we have to be like, oh my God, okay, right, we've got to go capture this really, because it's such a, pivotal moment, whatever it is. So I'd say that's been a definite thing.
We love, I think we both really love the energy of the whole thing and how passionate people are about it. But we do joke sometimes. We're like, we could, next documentary, maybe it would be about a murder that happened 100 years ago. And, the pace of it would be a bit slower. But it has been a fantastic, thing to capture and be on this journey with people.
Yeah, to retroactively tell a story, like have experts telling a story that happened that sort of has the beginning and end, so much more concrete, even if you're revealing new things. But like it is that funny space, because there's so many different just amazing documentaries telling stories like this that you look and it's like, wow, they followed this for a long time, because the story could have ended, but they're like, no, there's something more, and you just keep going, and it could go on forever. So it's like, it's a weird line, just with any art, like when is like enough for us?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like we have to definitely, there's points where we think, oh, we could go here and here, and we have to think, no, we actually have our own lives as well. This needs to end at some point. But yeah, I mean, we're really enjoying it so far. So it's
for sure.
So I think as we've gone on, wanting to grab as many. I think at the beginning we definitely wanted to grab as many different things as possible. But as we continue this journey, we've kind of chiseled down into, right, what's the heart and the main story of this whole thing and what we want to tell. And that's where the kind of restrictions, like artistic restrictions, can come in, which have been
once you find that, it's so helpful, because it could be, you could have thousands of hours of footage and just be like, now what? So like getting those little rails that you can push things down and be like, okay, now we know where we're crafting. It's not even crafting the story, but just sort of telling the story that's already there in the way that you want to, because there's so many angles that we could take with any of this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like the lessons that you shouldn't learn. We're like can't keep but we we'll go on a shoot and we'll be like, okay, we'll just film this, and then afterwards we'd be like, oh, we didn't really need to bother with that, we need to start like restricting the amount that we're filming now, and then a month will go by and suddenly it's the most important bit of footage we've got because of one event or another, and it's like, it could just keep going and going. But as Cam said, we're kind of finding those restrictions and those kind of points of meaning. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. So are you doing it? How are you managing all the footage? I know this is like nitty gritty. It's like, I find people's approach fascinating, and the footage just adds up every time you're shooting. Like, how are you managing it from sort of a strategy towards the film perspective? So are you almost pulling out things as you go? Like you come home, you import the footage, and you find key moments you might use later? Are you taking a different approach? Like, how are you looking at it?
Yeah, so kind of save it all, name it all, so it's all in date and we can find it and everything like that, back it up on multiple hard drives. And then, we've got, I've not done this before, but I'm trying like a mind map,
Uh-huh.
like kind of technique of like a way of sort of leading through the story and with footage and stuff, and like linking bits of footage into it. So
it's this wonderful. I got to just sideline. It's this wonderful piece of software. It looks like it's from the 90s, but it is weirdly just really satisfying. And it all works. You know, you look at it and think that looks really old, but you do it and it was just like
so basic.
It's so basic but perfect, just for cutting out all the faff. Like you don't have to worry about any of the bits. Just like here's a box, good, done. Move to that bit. So it's a good way to move all the story, and then those things can kind of link to where we've had file saves and things like that. So it's kind of linking that way. So that's been really fantastic. We're both, I mean, yeah, stupid to say we're visual people as we're doing this, but as a way of doing all parts, the facets of it. Yeah, what a nonsense thing to say. We're visual people. But yeah, it's been a good way of organising, kind of keeping track of all the ideas and footage together.
Yeah, I think also like the fact that we've both, I don't know, been like so intensely working on this, like we both remember everything. So that's been very helpful as well. So we can kind of rely on each other's memories for like bits that we might have not thought of before, or
it's all very surface fresh because it's happening constantly.
Yeah, you don't want to sit on it too long, because then it's like, what did we even talk about, or did this happen? Where did it happen? Where were we when this happened? What's the software? What's the name of the software?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
No idea. Like no idea at all. Not even an inkling. I don't think I could even remember the logo.
But it's like clip art vibes.
It's
like really
well, basic. It's so basic. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that is. I mean, that's where the magic is happening in the edit. Actually, how do you sort of delineate the work between you two? Do you guys have particular like almost like filmmaker editor? Like how do you line that up within the business?
Yeah, on shoots, Lucy's camera person. I'm there on sound, so I've got the boom.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, on shoots as well, it's quite a free flowing thing. So you know, Lucy's got questions. We're both involved in it, so there's questions that Lucy might be asking. There's questions that I might pop up as a sound person and ask and things like that. So it's an interesting like free flowing thing, and that happens in post production as well with most of our jobs. So. I do a bit of animating as well, so if that comes into it, then that's more of my skill set. But other than that, there's a real mingle of stuff. We
kind of choose to some projects, if they're more suited to one of our skill sets, then we'll be like, right, okay, you direct that one, and I'll do, you give me jobs to do, and then I'll do that, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it's been.
Yeah, and then if you've edited anything, it's kind of that. It's nice to have like a relay team approach sometimes, because you might be looking at a piece of footage for ages and go, I can't see this anymore. I can't even know what this is about because you've been in it for so long. So to be able to pass that off to someone, especially someone who's in it, knows the material as much as you do, is really valuable.
Yeah, super valuable. And I think it's so important to also recognize our strengths and the other person's strengths and see how we overlap, in what ways we can complement one another. Because it's easy just to do everything all the time. And it doesn't mean it's easy to actually do it, but it's just like, oh, I'm just doing all of this. But knowing that, oh, I can pass this on. I can send this over to you because you have the eye for that. And the more you work together, inevitably you start to find those things, start to find those the complementary skill set. So to rewind a little bit to how we got here, how you started Elastic, you both went to school for film, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Like film related, at least a part of what you were going to school for. Where did you? What was that?
How's he know this? I was like, how do you know this information? Photography isn't out yet, but there we go.
Oh yeah. I try to I want to be prepared. Just sort of. I don't want to ever show up and have it feel like I'm just like, okay, who are you? What's going on? Like, I want to be with a little bit. But so out of school, so maybe Lucy, to start, sort of, what were your first steps? Where were you going as you were moving on from school? Because to get to starting your own business together, I mean, it's a long journey and a lot of experience to be able to do this successfully.
So school is in like university?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No.
The age of
yeah.
Like, whether it was like high school, yeah. So so studied film at uni. And yeah, kind of from there knew that, well, yeah, I was very interested in it. Obviously, I did a degree in it. And yeah, really enjoyed the course, really enjoyed the kind of collaborative nature of it. Before then, I was actually, I was going to go into fashion when I was younger, but the kind of isolated way of working, I was like, I can't do this. I need to talk to people, otherwise I'll go mad. But but yeah, so finished my degree, was lucky to get a job as a researcher with a woman who has been quite like a mentor as well. She basically had her own company and basically was like the boss of it. And my job was to, do like various things like film on shoots and stuff like that, but also kind of come up with stories for new films. And because it was just pretty much us in the office every day, I kind of got just really valuable experience that I don't think I would have had I started in a bigger company. So that was really nice. So I was working on, ideas for films, for TV shows. I did bits of work on films and stuff like that. And then, left that company and went.
And real quick, I just wanted to just stop it there for a minute, because the mentorship I think is so valuable just in anything, almost like an apprenticeship of sorts, because like we learn a lot in school, but it's not as practical many times. Maybe in film it is, but like I noticed so many spaces it's hard to really make that leap right in, because like the real world, for lack of a better term, is it's just a little different, just how it operates. And what were maybe some of the areas that you were starting in that, like, were there some specific learnings or anything that came from that initial time there that you were just like, oh, this is something, I hadn't looked at things this way or done anything like this before?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of specifics. I think, like, for one, I think like the industry is very gate-kept in a lot of ways. There's so many things that you need to know that you can't just Google, or that you can't just find out. Like, you need, someone to sit with you and teach you it. And even, writing like proposals and writing it and then, showing her, and then she'd say, no, this is like, not this bit, or this bit's good, or whatever. And then I kind of go back and write it again. And I think just kind of across the board, like with everything really, it was that having, someone to be patient with my learning, and kind of give me that like immediate and direct feedback.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe we'll jump over to Cameron. I normally do one-on-one, so I want to be sure to get like both your stories together and weave them together as best as I can. But so after university, what's that?
You're doing very well.
I'm trying. But after university, then sort of what was the beginning of your trajectory? And then we'll zoom forward. We won't stick in the past too much, but just to sort of set the stage for how we got here.
Yeah, I did English lit and film, so I did a nice combined thing. Then I left uni, wanted to travel, didn't have any money, so I did the old teaching English abroad. So I went and lived in Vietnam for a couple of years. Taught, absolutely loved teaching. I think because I had quite a lot of freedom. I think English is quite a good thing if you want to explore teaching as a whole. English as a foreign language doesn't really have a syllabus. You've got to teach like grammar points and words and stuff like that. But the stories around those words that you're teaching can be anything you want. And I was lucky enough to have quite a lot of freedom from the school I was teaching at to kind of create lessons and do that kind of stuff. So there was a real like creativity part of the teaching that I really got on with, and yeah, had a good time doing that. After that, came back to the UK, and I got into marketing through a startup that was also doing English teaching type thing. So I started working for a startup, got into marketing, and did that for a couple of years, while also doing kind of bit of film in the background every now and then for different companies, just freelance stuff. And then that's kind of very quick. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
quite quick story.
No, it's perfect. Did you guys sort of, as you were both moving along on your journey, I know, Liz, yours was more directly tied to film, like the actual like career. Did you guys see yourselves breaking out one day? Was it something you were like, okay, this is a sort of an on-ramp to where we want to go, or is this something that sparked later? Because I think it was 2020 when Elastic Pi started. So what were you thinking, like, sort of along the journey up until that point?
I think for me, very quickly, it was just more the maybe not liking working for people at a very base level, or doing things that I didn't feel were maybe right for the direction that something should have been going, or creatively was very good, but having to do them anyway and having that bit of freedom was maybe not something that's something I kind of thought about. I should we start a company, do that kind of stuff. But in retrospect, definitely good for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I think when you it is that thing when you're working for someone else. Like, of course, there are like creative limitations. Like, you can't just go off and be like, well, I'm going to do this. You have to kind of follow their brief. But I think when you are kind of quite a creative person, even if it's not like a job that's maybe not the most interesting that you've ever had, when you have that creative control and that ability to kind of shape it, then it's like rewarding. I think both.
I think we've you can't really imagine working for someone else now.
Mm-hmm. Was there a point when that hit? Was it after you left? Was there a point for both of you where you're just like, no, there's no going back. This is where I'm going moving forward?
I think for me it was maybe a little bit different because film and TV can be so like unstable anyway.
Yeah.
Like you always have to be hunting for your next contract. So it didn't really feel like that much of a jump. Mm-hmm. It kind of almost felt like more stable to like actually just be building our own company at the same time. I guess I do say that more now. I think maybe I wouldn't have I haven't had the same kind of jumping from thing to thing. I've done like freelancer jobs in the background usually and doing things like that, but also had kind of a stable long contracted jobs. So yeah, definitely maybe in the last, I don't know, I think it was quite quick after we started, because it was something that we felt that we were building, and you get your first client, and then it started rolling in. We started getting bigger clients. We're like, shit, this is happening. This is working, and it's I think that was quite infectious. And
yeah. So then, since you were already writing proposals, you were sort of in that space, like you said, it felt more maybe a little more stable, moving out on your own. How did you? What were maybe some of the first steps that let you know, like, oh, we can do this. This is a viable approach to go out completely solo. Because it's a big leap, sort of no matter, because it comes down to you guys, like whether you're able to pay the bills and whatnot.
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
And it's okay too if it was just like, hey, let's do this, let's try it and see what happens. That's also completely valid. It's I guess where was your maybe mindset at the moment when you were like, let's start getting some work here on our own?
It was, I think we both love like going out on shoots and things like that, and for talking to people and meeting people a bit. And I'd been furloughed through COVID for a bit, mm-hmm. and bored, not being able to kind of like feel like I was really progressing with anything or working on stuff.
Despite my previous comments of employer stability, I was let go from my job because of COVID.
Uh-huh. So so many people have been, especially at that time. So it's like it's opportunity, depending on how people look at it. And like I love that you guys like you took that opportunity to run with it, because a lot of times, like I lost my job, like it was like 2009, so unrelated to COVID, but like I lost my job, and that's the reason I started building everything I have. Like at the moment, like in my day job, I sat there and I'm like, I need the next $1 million idea. I need this like grand thing. Like I need to make Facebook, kind of thing. And it wasn't until I lost my job that then I was like, I've already been doing this. Like I had been doing web design since I was in high school, but like a project there, here, a project there. But it wasn't until that moment that I was like, if I just do more projects, I'll have enough money. Like it was such a weird thing that never registered until I had to do it. So I think sometimes having that external motivator that puts us in that position is immensely valuable.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think when we first started as well, we're both, worked on creative projects and things like that. So the creative part of it was something that we felt quite comfortable with doing and writing pictures and approaching clients. The business side of it and creating the business and leads and things like that was something which was a bit more new to us, but we were very lucky to work with a fantastic, just business development guy. And this was coming out of, we working together, so we're bouncing ideas off, but he was invaluable just to give us a bit more, just kind of structure. We had ideas and how to do it, but we maybe were attacking two things at the same time when we should have been focused on one and things like that. And this guy, just brilliant. Really good just to sit down and chat to. We went to a cafe with him every now and then, and he walked through different plans and things like that. And it was really great to have that extra person to bounce ideas off and really be on board with us. And he was brilliant. But we still keep in touch, which is nice.
Yeah, he gave us some amazing spreadsheets, which we're not.
We're not spreadsheet people. This
so
guy, we got some good spreadsheets.
They've been good.
Nice. Was that someone that you knew already, or did you meet them sort of around that time?
We met them around that time. We got put through those a new business growth accelerator thing,
government scheme thing or something.
And they put us in contact with this guy, Jack Thompson.
Nice.
Through shouting his name out. Yes. So we got him through that, and he was great.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always think that it's what we know and who we know. It's important because, like the mentorship, for example, like you learn so much more at such a more rapid pace than you would from pure trial and error, because there's people who've tread these paths before. And if we can have someone to sort of help guide us along, it's so immensely valuable, because it's sort of like you could be the best at anything, but if no one knows you and you don't know anyone, how are you going to sort of bridge that gap, build the connections, and also have that experience to do the things that you've never done before? So I think it's hugely valuable to have sort of that scenario, that maybe jumping off point. In terms of starting the business then, where were you approaching it? How were you finding your clients? What was maybe your angle, your outreach? What did it look like at the beginning?
Referrals. At the beginning, referrals. People we've worked with in the past, people we knew, just put the feelers out and kind of said, we're doing this now. This is the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah, people that already had a level of trust with what we were doing, I think, was important at the beginning.
That's so important.
Someone very early on found us on the website, and that first cold website job was mind blowing.
Yeah, when our website was terrible.
It was a terrible website, and someone found it. Went, we like your stuff, your style. We want you to do it. And we were like, whoa, that was really that was completely disconnected. And we were like, this is something now. That was a big step, I think. That was out of nowhere. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's very exciting. Do you do then cold outreach now? Is it through your network? What's sort of the balance of how you're finding new people now?
Yeah, I think it's quite. I have a weird. I quite like cold outreach, just emailing. I don't know why. It's not cold. It's I do research and things like that.
Warm emails.
Yeah.
I don't know why I like it. It's not the most successful, but I just
tepid.
If I've got enough time to do it, I can waste a lot of time doing that. Just spend a lot of time doing it. But yeah, networking events is a great way of doing it. We do that. What else do we do?
I don't know. I can't think of it.
Well, yeah. Also, because it's not like you need to have hundreds or thousands of clients either. So it's not like you're doing the outreach as much, because this is a higher ticket service. So it is different. So it's kind of a tough question. I feel like it's so broad to be like, how do you find people? But I think it's also valuable in terms of cold outreach, warm outreach, however you want to look at it. Are there any things that you've learned, maybe any, just hate to say tips and tricks, but anything that you're like, oh, this now I do it this way. Like maybe I started like this and now I do this.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I do now. And it might not get any more leads for me. Mm-hmm. I shorten my emails because I used to spend bloody ages writing a really nice chunky like introductory email. And I just write, hey, I saw you're doing this. We do this. Do you need it right now? Essentially that kind of structure, because it saves so much time. And people aren't going to read it or answer it. And if it's the right time, it's the right time. That's it. That's my lesson for me for 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Writing so long.
It makes perfect sense because we're all in a hurry. There's so many inputs at all times. So yeah, if there's a need there, or even if they just know you exist from that little outreach, like that can be something, just a little nugget in the back of the mind. For later.
What are you doing for outreach? So we're sharing ideas.
Oh yeah. So like word of mouth is everything for us. It has been for a long time. We've had partners, like long-term partners, just now because we've been in it for a while. So we tend to just have a few main clients we're working with, but then we have products and things. We have a platform called Built where people can build their own website and all these different things that are in place. So yeah, it's a little different now, but definitely word of mouth is so valuable, and doing great work for people who appreciate it. That sounds really weird. Like I don't like how he said that, but basically like doing work for people who are already doing something great and helping to elevate them. That's always been our approach. So like some of our biggest, most, I don't know, lucrative relationships, I don't like looking at it like in a money sense, but like our richest relationships and the ones who we've worked with for the longest and we've all benefited the most are the ones that we were just helping at the beginning. We weren't even charging anything. It was, for some of them, years, like 6 years before we actually we're like, oh, there's a mutually beneficial thing here. We could both make money doing this. You want to do this together, kind of thing. But that just gets good word of mouth, good karma. But I don't know. It's more just that word of mouth and building up those networks for us. And I think it is hugely valuable. And now you're doing that in different areas too, because interviewing the artists in Web3, the developers and creators, you're known. Like you mentioned, people who already like us and trust us. It's like that know, like, and trust. Like that's what we're all after at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's been really nice. Yeah, building those kind of relationships and it's been really lovely just kind of hearing people's stories because, you'll tell us better about the contributors' difficulties in other areas and how lucky we are on this one.
Oh right, yeah. So I mean, went to the pub with one of my friends who I went to uni with, who works in TV, and she was just kind of like, "Oh, what are you guys? How's it going?" Like, blah, blah, blah. We were explaining who we've been interviewing, and I think Cam was saying about how we've been, able to speak to so many different people, and people have been so receptive and open to speaking with us, which has been really nice. And my friend was kind of like, you don't realize, Cam, how difficult this normally is. So it's like, it's really, I think
definitely the warmth for people like wanting to tell their story in this space constantly, in this kind of like wanting to share, wanting to like bring you in, and that's been fantastic. But turns out not something that I should be. It usually happens in other areas. So this has been lovely. It's been really nice to be able to be so brought in.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, with like the kind of importance of like building relationships with the people you work with, and that's definitely been kind of a foundation for the film. Like we are friends with a lot of the people that we film with now. Like it's genuine relationships. So we hope that will kind of translate when it's like finally put together. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So actually, when it is put together, what's sort of your plan then? Because distribution, kind of finding the audience is it's a challenge. I mean, there is so much, like you were just saying, there's so many inputs that you want to make sure your film is seen. Do you have sort of a game plan yet, or is that something you'll be figuring out as you go?
So we've had conversations with a few people that are potentially interested in working with us. We are launching a crowdfunding campaign in December, we've got a few kind of plans for it, but kind of I don't know, depending on things that happen.
Yes.
Sorry, it's a bit vague, but
no, it's fine. Yeah, because I'm sure it's all up in the air, because it is something, again, there isn't a concrete, like, oh, we had all the actors have been in, we have all the shots, we just have to edit, and then we're blah, blah, blah. This is just such a different process than like a fictional piece of content or a retrospective on some historical event that's already finished, that you already know, like, sort of start and end. So, yeah.
Sorry, you just cut out then.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's just different than, like, if it was a piece of fiction that was very concrete, where you could be like, okay, this is what we're doing, we're done here. So it totally makes sense. You don't have to have all the answers yet, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, distribution, getting people to know it is a challenge, but with the crowdfunding, so the crowdfunding through like an Indiegogo or Patreon or something?
Yeah, through FundServer.
Gotcha.
Yes, we know one of the people who runs a company, so that's been a good relationship, and it's been an interesting one. We kind of, potentially things have changed since the whole FTX fiasco, but looking at kind of alternative ways of funding, and kind of using crypto potentially. So it's how much funding are you looking that you're going to need? Because is it just the two of you sort of behind the film? I assumed, but I didn't ask.
Yes, so far it's been completely self-funded, and which has been absolutely fine, because it's been the two of us, very small team to have support and things like that. The last kind of bits are, we've got kind of our friends who are in the industry and contacts and stuff who have kind of got like ready to go if it gets that, when it gets to that next point. So the funding would be to carry us through to post-production, getting an edit house involved as well. Like we'd edit a certain amount of it, but just to have that extra pair of hands would be lovely. And then the funder. And then there's a couple of people we want to go and speak to in America and things like that. So to get that next bit of footage and things would be, that's what we need a little extra funding for. Thanks. That's what the extra bit and the extra steps are for. Just to think, we know there are elements of the story that take place there, and there are elements and people who live there, and we just want to
for sure.
Tell the story.
Yeah, there's so many parts that people almost, I think, on the outside of filmmaking, documentaries and everything, you don't realize how expensive it actually is in the end, because you have the travel, you have the shooting, you have all your time, that's expensive on its own. But then you do have, like, maybe you're editing in a house, but then are you color grading? Are you scoring it? You have to pay for licenses for all the music, the royalties, like royalty free or whatever you're doing. You need some sort of license to be able to do that. And there's all these little bits that, like, we did everything in house for minimalism. And it's funny because it's like, oh, this is basically a zero budget, but it was nowhere near zero. It was very low for a documentary, but as soon as you send it out for grading, as soon as you, we did an original score, which is obviously pretty pricey, but at the same time, it wasn't that different from doing existing music and paying the licensing fees and this and that. But it's just interesting because all those things add up as you're going, and you don't know what you don't know. That's the thing that I find, it's what I find fascinating about entrepreneurship in general, is sort of the more threads we pull on, the more we learn, and why I like having these conversations to see, like, what is it that you guys have come across that, like, I haven't thought about, and like sharing them with the audience. And as much as we can, I think it's valuable. But yeah, it's just interesting how much more expensive a film is than one might assume just at a glance.
Yes.
No, 100%.
Absolutely. Music. There's so many music tracks. We're like, well, that'll be good. You look it up.
Yeah. How did you get? I'm just interested. How did you get involved in the minimalism film? Like, how did that kind of all start?
So yeah, we were working with the Minimalists since their site was 2 weeks old. So they're one that we just reached out. Like we met them in person. They came to Chicago because there was an event that the person running the event asked us to come because we were sort of recognized in what we do. And we met Josh and Ryan. They drove in from Dayton, Ohio that night, and like they were just clearly very driven, very focused, and they were doing something different. And like we stayed in contact, and I was like we love what you're doing. Let's sort of kick things up a notch. It was the first thing was like a book. Like they designed their own cover on the book. It's like, just here, use this cover. It'll look better. We know the content is great, but we want it to visually the brand to be elevated. Then over time, we've just been working with them ever since, and they did a bunch of tours and things, and a film was sort of it's weird to say, but like a logical next step to really document and reach a broader audience. So there was like a 100-city international tour in 2014. That's what then became the film, sort of the story arc of the film. But then the experts are what explain sort of the premises of minimalism and mindfulness and dangers of marketing and different things that the Mins touch on through their blog, now through their podcast. But yeah, it was just something that Josh brought to the table. He's like, this is what we want to do. He found Matt Diavella, who's the director. He was just a little just doing videography in New York City, and we had an event in New York as like a test run for the tour. Hired Matt to film it, do a little trailer for the tour, and then they had hit it off and stayed in contact, and eventually it became the film that happened. But yeah, it's a big long journey, to do all of it, because by the end too, it's so many different films were created. We did a film festival tour where we were bouncing around and doing it, but the film we showed there, like, it did pretty well at some of them. I think it won an award in one of the LA film festivals, but that's an expense that people don't realize. Like, you're paying to enter all of these film festivals. It's not like you're just able to submit and maybe win. It got expensive. It's something we wouldn't do again, but it was a nice experience. But then in the end, also, that film isn't the film that we released, because then we started to see, we're missing this. We're not doing this in the way that does it the most justice, or we're not even diving into these areas. So new interviews, completely new edits. I think it was 2 full new edits before the final film, from film festival to distribution. But then, we did everything with that. We did a theater run, which was through Gather, who sort of, it makes it easier to do a theater run, because you can like pre-sell, and if you have enough sales in certain cities, you can do that. So we did like 300 cities for that. And because of that, it was the #1 indie doc of 2016, because not a lot of indie docs do theaters and do the things that sort of check on those boxes. But yeah, none of it's easy. It's all, it takes a lot, and Netflix didn't want it. They turned us down. We ended up going through Gather, going through another partner, and that partner had sort of this grandfathered relationship into Netflix. And if they were like, no, this should be in there, like, you guys should have it, Netflix was like, okay, we'll take it. So that happened. They only wanted US rights for a short period of time. It did phenomenally well because we brought in a baked-in audience. And then they bought it for several years, international rights and all these things afterwards. So it was a big journey. It's something very exciting and fun to experience. But another thing, like, none of us had done that before. Like, even Matt, he went from videography into filmmaking. Same thing, same premise, but none of us had done a feature. It just isn't something we had even touched on. So I don't know, long tangent, but it was exciting.
That's brilliant.
No,
That's so
cool.
good. Cool.
No.
Love that.
I really enjoyed that film, and I remember when it came out, or I don't know, people in the UK started watching it, like, people were talking about it, like, it was very cool. Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Fascinating as well. Did you think, like, when you were going up to the festivals, did you think there would be an edit afterward, or did you think at that time you were like, this is it, or did you have that in the back of your head? Yeah,
at that point, I think it was pretty much like, this is the film. It's done. We like it. It gives you those like chills when it should and stuff like that. Like, it's, in retrospect, it was almost like, I don't want to diminish that cut because like it was a good film, but it wasn't a great film. But I think some of those things, which we had talked about afterwards, all together, like hitting those peaks in it gave us almost like a false sense because it made us feel something. But we could make emotion, like Matt specifically. Like I say, this is Matt Diavella. Like this is his film. Like he, start to finish, without him, this wouldn't be what it is. But we all sort of had the input on the things he was doing, and we were working together in that sense. But this is his. Like I don't want to have any credit for that at all. But like he even said, he's like, you can make people feel something and have the emotion through the audio, through the cut, through the music, whatever it is. And he's like, it's not there yet though. Like we have the emotion, but we're thinking the film is better because of the emotion. And it was something that was completely true, that we had to go back. We had to try to better represent people. I mean, that's something that's so difficult in an area like minimalism, because it tends to be wealthier white males who have minimalist blogs, say. And especially at the time, it was just bloggers. There aren't a lot of podcasts at the time and whatnot. And we weren't really showing the broad spectrum of human experience in the way that we wanted to. And we tried, but it was something after the festival run, we're just seeing like, oh, there's some holes here. Like we're missing things that we really need to touch on, and people and voices and everything. So it was sort of going back to the drawing board of sorts. Like it was still the same film in the end. Like if someone had seen both, they wouldn't necessarily, like far enough apart, they wouldn't be like, oh, those were different. But like we know what was missing and what we had to add and where it ended up. And it was just so much better for it in the end.
Amazing.
Love that.
Yeah, it's so true though, that kind of that like false sense of like, this is right, this means it's good, when you get that feeling of emotion, especially I don't know, you get so attached to the people that you're filming with or just the film, and it's like I don't know, you have a different experience of it, don't you? I think when you are close to something.
Yeah, it's hard, and especially then when the music is in there and it's placeholder music. And you're like, oh, this is perfect. And it's like, we can't use it. This is merely to like tell this story until we get to the music phase. And it's like, oh no, now it's different. I don't like different. Like none of us do, in the end, it's like, we're so tied to it. I've watched this 15, 20 times with this music, with this color or lack of color grade, like all these different things. Then it changed and it's like, but is it still good? I don't know. Now it just becomes, second guessing everything in the end. But yeah. I mean, I find filmmaking just endlessly fascinating, and I know we're sort of coming up on time, so I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk about everything and dive into your story and everything you're doing. What are you looking forward to sort of in the near term? Right now where we're at, this is middle or end of November 2022. Just in what you guys are doing, what are you maybe most excited about?
There's a couple of artists we're speaking to coming up. I'm excited to, just go and hear their story. We've done it before. It's not any different, but that's gonna be nice. They seem like some nice people.
Yeah, can't give name specifics, but people that we've kind of seen.
We wanted to
things
for a while.
About, and it's kind of curious. So it's going to be very excited to meet them. Yeah. Good.
And how do you feel sort of the film side, the like really passion project, personal side versus the business side? How do you have to almost compartmentalize those in any way, or do you look at them any differently?
I think we've got some. There are different types of jobs. There are ones which, you do the work, it's done. But there are ones, we've got one coming up soon. We're working in a hospital for a week. It's definitely our ideas, and they've come with a kind of outline brief. But we're spending quite a bit of time doing that and creating kind of a sense of a story throughout it. So we still, ultimately, our whole thing is trying to tell some sort of authentic story in whatever avenue that is. So we've done events or recruitment videos or brand stuff, but as long as there's something which has got some sort of story and people in it, then we're doing the passion thing at the same time. It doesn't matter what the packaging is, the heart is still in it, which is what we try to reach for.
What makes a good story, actually?
Hitting us with the hard questions right at the end. I don't know. People, I always, when people give a shit about what they're talking about, I think when people like really care and you see it in their face, it's gonna come out. And it's nice when it does, and it's nice when you as a filmmaker, you make a connection with someone, and you can get that on camera.
So when you've actually encountered that, when maybe it
tells its story.
Oh, I think we just froze up.
It's so bad. We did.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
when you do see that in someone, that it isn't, they're not really, maybe their emotion and face doesn't match the words. Like just how you said, like when they just like exude the passion for it. Have you come across that where there is that disconnect, and have you had to have any sort of maybe take a different approach, or how maybe would you deal with that? Because it is hard, because a lot of times, especially when people aren't used to like being interviewed for something that they know is going to be seen, like a documentary is like such a grand thing, and to maybe be like, I want to convey myself in this way and have it more controlled, but like we feel that as the filmmaker, as the audience, we can see when they don't have that like that connection. Is there anything that in your mind that can be done to sort of help people break down those walls and bring it out a little bit more?
I think we like lowering the pressure is we've always found useful, and
I think there's a nice part of it when they, what we said before, small team, just the two of us, especially Lucy's on the camera, I've got the boom pole, so we're the crew. And we're talking to them, and it might just be Lucy first, and they're doing that, and she's got the camera. But then if that isn't breaking down the barrier because maybe there's a camera in the way, and if I ask a question which is maybe the same question but slightly different, then there's a second person in the room, and then we can try and get that kind of three-way conversational thing going, which we found is quite a nice, not something that we planned for, or but retrospectively kind of thought, oh, that works. That's all right. It's quite a nice way of working together.
Yeah, I also think, so we're, and I don't know if this was like, so we're together and we work together. Uh-huh. So I think because
partners and partners.
Yeah, because we have that kind of just close dynamic, and the, I don't know. I think like people can sense that a lot of the time. So it does kind of like relax the environment. Like if we want, if I'm like missing a shot or something, Cam will be like, what do you do? The shot's there. And I'll be like, oh yeah, there. And the same with the boom. I'll be like, come on, put it in, So it's like kind of no,
there's no air sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's funny, occasionally they haven't clocked on that we are together, and they'll be like looking at us like, and just trying to piece together like, is this
a thing? Like, very close.
Are you close to it? Yeah. Oh, right, that makes so much sense there. So yeah. It's kind of a bit more familiar atmosphere we try and build and just put on.
I think that's a valuable dynamic to have, both within like each other, but with an interviewee subject, if you will. It sounds like so sterile, but someone that you're talking to, because you want them to be a part of this. You want them to be themselves and feel real. Like Amara actually produces this. She's like off camera, but she does like, there's her hand. You can kind of see her maybe. But yeah, like she produces this now and does all the camera cuts and everything. So I don't have to do this later. But then she does videography, like social media videography for entrepreneurs in real estate and this and that. So I help her as like a second set of hands. I'm setting up the light while she's like connecting with the person and doing all these things, because it just makes it so much more smooth. Because having the tighter relationship like we have and like you guys have, I think it does disarm people a little bit in a good way. They don't feel like, oh, this is very formal. This is a company coming out to showcase me. This is This is a company coming out to have a good time together. And I think that that's just an immensely valuable little hack of sorts. Because you guys are so close, you can then exude that like real passion for what you're doing and caring for one another. And I think that gets reflected back.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
And it's even like, I don't know if you guys have this as well, but you kind of, you know each other so well that just like little bits of body language or just something you can be like, oh wait, this, you can like mind read a little bit, so it does just make the whole process a lot more fluid. And
I always like when we know we've got something, someone said something good or poignant, and you just look at each other like, oh shit. It's like,
it's not even that, it's literally probably just like
a little side eye, like, whoa. Yeah, that's always good.
Nice, I love that. When
it's those kind of like, I guess hack. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah. Sorry, it chopped out for a second, but when you have those little moments, do you have any, like, do you take a note of like a timestamp or anything, or is it just we know to go back later? Because that's something for me that I struggle with.
That's probably a good idea, actually.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I will like make a little note on my phone, but I think the ones that are the best, I'm like thinking about forever. I'm like, oh my god, is this moment? And then like the
mind maps off out,
Yeah, it opens up, it shines light maybe on another thing, another thread to pull that you're gonna go down more deeply. So I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate both of you taking the time out to chat. I think this was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate diving into your story and looking at your approach. So where should we send people to, whether it's follow along with Elastic Pi, follow along with the film, you guys individually, where would be best to send people?
So our film at the minute, that's like that would be great. If anyone wants to check it out.
Wild Wild Web3
.xyz.
I want to thank Lucy and Cameron for joining me on this episode. Be sure to head on over to wildweb3.xyz to check out the film and follow along. It'll be exciting to see when that comes out. But how are you doing over there? Other half?
I want pie.
Elastic Pi?
Yeah, well, because their company name is Elastic Pi.
Uh-huh.
And then one of my clients that we filmed yesterday, they had a whole debate about pumpkin and apple, and I've been editing that all day, and I was like, oh, that sounds so good.
Also,
I want pie.
We need to move your mic to the other side, but
I'm having a chill time. I'm resting it on my belly.
On your belly.
Ow.
But it is fun because they're also... It was at the end, and that'll be
very
in
lovely.
the episode. But also like a couple doing filmmaking, which you're helping me with this. I'm helping you with your stuff with your clients. So there's a little kinship there. So I like that.
Couples make the world go round.
Probably.
Yep.
Okay. Well, with that,
I keep like moving, and this keeps bonking me.
But yeah. Okay. So
also. North Face is not a sponsor of this. I just didn't want to change.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
I mean, well, now we need to get a sponsor for our outros, our archive. Okay, so this is enough. This has been Starting Now. I'm Jeff Sarris. That's Amara Andrew. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Or will we? We will. Bye.